And in today's headline, we're proud to announce the first ever EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum, themed Unlocking Sustainable Trade and Investment under the Global Gateway. And in today's headline, we're proud to announce the first ever EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum, themed Unlocking Sustainable Trade and Investment under the Global Gateway. That we're trying to move right here as we're trying to push and unlock sustainable trade and investment under the Global Gateway. And this is who I am, and I will be just leading through this session, although our moderator there is here. But I just want to take us through so that you know who we have up here, all right? And this topic, transport and logistics, is really the heartbeat of investment, regional integration, and global competitiveness. Whether we're talking about moving goods, whether we're talking about even moving information, whether we're talking about moving anything that you want to think of, transport and logistics is important, and to ensure that we're investment ready and globally connected. So to steer us through this landscape, we have an insightful lineup, and we begin with the key presentation. We will be beginning with the key presentation here, where we're looking at representing freight forwarders and logistics professionals across the country. And we will have the Shipping and Forwarding Agents Association of Zimbabwe, Mr. Washington Dube, who's here. If you can just raise your hand so everybody can see you and know you. So we have Mr. Washington Dube there. And following that, we will also have, it could be a panel discussion, or we will have presentations coming up. It's really according to the moderator and what they would want. But we're also joined by a transport and logistics expert, Mr. Mungai Lenneiye of the Udugu Institute, bringing a regional lens on sustainable integrated transport networks. And that's you, this is right here. And also we have Aviation Ground Services here represented. So we've got a local view into AGS with Mr. Togara Mushonga. The local one? Yes. Mr. Togara Mushonga, thank you so much for coming up to the stage now. And internationally, we've got Jan Yondehu. Did I say that correctly? Perfect, thank you so much. And he's coming in from an international perspective. He's not from the local perspective here. And then we also have the director of Interlog, a European company operating here in Zimbabwe, who will share a unique investor perspective, and that is Mr. Clement Henon. Clem, all right, and so we have Clem there. And of course, SFAAZ will be there just taking us through everything and guiding us through this journey, a man who knows the terrain very well, who's going to be the moderator for this. He's an esteemed development economist. He's a former vice president of the African Development Bank and someone who has spent decades championing Africa's transformation from within and beyond borders, and also as the chief executive officer of the Infrastructure Development Bank of Zimbabwe. Please help me welcome our moderator for this session, the one and the only, Mr. Thomas Zondo Sakala. Mr. Sakala. And as I do that, I hand over to you as you can go on to moderate this session. Mr. Sakala, it's over to you.
Thank you. We are still quite some years before the next elections. So I think the way you've introduced me, if it was closer to elections, I might be tempted. But anyway, we are going to move very quickly. You said up until 17 hours. I was made to understand it was supposed to be for 1.5 hours. So I have to do some strict timekeeping. I will not waste time with protocol. We'll start with Mr. Dube, who is going to give us a presentation over 15 minutes. Now it's 12 minutes. Then afterwards, each of the panelists will have 7 minutes to also react and give their own experiences. What we hope to get from them are issues that revolve around policies, around institutional arrangements, challenges, but more importantly, what are some of the key projects that you see available in Zimbabwe from government, private sector, so that we can move on and move this trade. All of you came here, some means of transport, isn't it? And that's what we are talking about. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Allow me for the next 1.5 minutes to present a video.
The Shipping and Forwarding Agents Association of Zimbabwe is an association of shipping lines, freight forwarders, customs clearing agents, bonded warehouse operators, and in-house clearing importers and exporters. Here are some statistics for your consideration. Half of the produce shelf life is spent in transit. Around 33%, 1/3, of food produce is lost or wasted in transit. This food loss is mainly due to spoilage of the produce while it is being transported, as well as from damage that the fruits and vegetables endure that prevent them from being able to be sold. Poor food logistics in Africa not only results in reduced productivity and increased food loss, but also impose a significant financial burden on consumers, with added costs related to logistics, increasing the price of some goods traded within Africa by up to 75%. There is no global food shortage, because we produce more than enough food to feed everyone in the world. We produce so much food globally, yet 1/3 of it, 1.3 billion tons, is wasted, worth over $1 trillion. These are some sobering statistics.
Good afternoon once again. Indeed, we are farmers who are here. It's a sobering thought to know that 1/3 of what you are producing as a farmer is lost. It's never sold to the consumer. What a loss. Thus, we are speaking to transport. We are speaking about transport and logistics. plenty of times when we speak in terms of, we tend to concentrate on manufacturing. There is a point I want you to consider, ladies and gentlemen. We are all putting on clothes. When you compare on a cost-by-cost basis, chances are high that the item of clothing which you are putting, the major cost is on transport and logistics. To bring it from wherever it was manufactured to the point of you wearing it. That's the importance of transport. That's the importance of logistics. When we talk in terms of investment, we always say in transport and logistics, investment in manufacturing should match or exceed, should be equal to the investment in transport, to the investment in logistics. It shows the importance of bringing the commodity to the table. I present, ladies and gentlemen, the statistics which I showed on that video. A farmer, when he sells his produce, half of the product lifestyle is spent in transit before it reaches the final consumer. So what it means now, when that product is sold in a store, half of this shelf life will be left because of the inefficiencies, because of the cost in logistics. That's why logistics is a compelling factor which equals, in our view, the investment in manufacturing. I will zero in on the investment opportunities which are available in Zimbabwe. Transport and logistics play a crucial role, or it's the backbone of international trade. Zimbabwe, beamed there is a map I will explain shortly. Zimbabwe, because of their location within Southern Africa, it provides a link between Southern and Eastern Africa. So beamed on the screen is what is called an origin destination map. So what we have done is a survey which we have done to show the expected or the desired transport routes for logistics within Southern Africa. So there are two kinds of lines which are there. There is the red line, there is the yellow line. The line I want you to focus on is the red line. So the red line is what you call the most desired line. So these are transport routes, they do not exist. But that's what the consumer, you and I, if we asked the question, that what route would you want to use if you are going to Zambia? What route do you want to use if you are going to South Africa? These are the results. So the thicker the line, the more desirable the route is. To us, this is an unexplored territory. It's an area ripe for investment to develop both rail and road infrastructure using the origin destination map. This is a survey of what the transporters, what the individuals actually said that these are our preferred routes. So when you see a thicker red line, it's more people preferred that route over the other. So there are vast opportunities pertaining to the investment in the road and rail structure using studies like the OD survey which we have done. Zimbabwe offers a very compelling argument in terms of investment in infrastructure, in terms of investment in rail. Zimbabwe, because of our location, we offer the shortest route. This is very key in terms of demand for or use of the investment. We offer the shortest route connecting the eastern countries of Zambia and DRC, which are landlocked from the port cities of Beira, from the port cities of Durban, from the port cities of Cape Town. So Zimbabwe will offer the shortest route. So it becomes indeed a transit of choice for cargo, which is going both to Zambia, which is going both as well to the DRC. So the investment will pay it off. So this is evidenced by investment by Zimborders connecting the port cities of Durban and Cape Town, going all the way to Lusaka and to Zambia. There are compelling reasons to invest in the transport sector in Zimbabwe. Just to speak also, or to add into that, there are additional opportunities. Maybe you can actually show, you can show the next slide, which shows the location of Zimbabwe, as I have explained, linking to the ports, to the landlocked countries of Malawi. DRC is out of our picture. That's how key or important, or there is a guaranteed return on investment because of the location of Zimbabwe, investment in rail, investment in road. So other opportunities which are there within the logistics and the supply chain in Zimbabwe is the point which I spoke to at first, the cold chain supply chain. Investment in cold chain supply chain, which need investment to reduce the post-harvest loss. You know, some research actually for Zimbabwe suggests that up to 40% of our produce is lost post-harvest because of lack of cold chain investments. So that's one ripe area for investment for the cold chain, to develop our cold chain in Zimbabwe. One of the earlier, I had an earlier presentation which spoke to, or a question which alluded to the rail inefficiencies. In Zimbabwe, over 90% of our cargo is actually moved using road, which is inefficient, and in terms of cost, road is higher than rail. So there are ripe opportunities for the movement of exports and exports by investment in rail. Somebody spoke about our railway line, which stops in a place called Karoi, Lion's Den, which never continued all the way to Lusaka, to Zambia. So that's one area which might be an investment opportunity to extend the line which stops at Lion's Den to go all the way to Zambia, to extend the rail in that area. So we need, as we are going forward, we need to move away from moving our goods using road to move our goods using rail. So you may also be aware that the government of Zimbabwe is modernizing our border post through public-private partnerships, with the flagship project being the Beitbridge border post. So there are opportunities as well through our various border posts to actually modernize our border post. We have our Chirundu, we have Plumtree, we have Nyamapanda border post, just to mention a few, so as to make our logistics to be efficient as we are moving forward. You may also be aware, colleagues, that in terms of most of our horticultural products, they are moved by air because of one, lack of cold chain supply chain within the road network, lack of supply chain also within the rail network. So we used to ship our blueberries using KLM, but that airline has since left Zimbabwe. So, but the demand is there. The demand to ship our horticulture products going into the Netherlands market, going into Europe is there, but the airline, nowadays, if I may tell you what our importers are doing, we are using road to Johannesburg in some cases, and it becomes expensive, and the losses, they actually increase because of the distances. So there is an opportunity for a freighter to actually move cargo from Zimbabwe to the European market. I'm being told my time is over. I will finish off. This is a frontier from where we are standing. Investment in sustainable transport solutions. The field is ripe for investment. As far as we are concerned, there is little or no investment in this sector. Using innovative, sustainable transport solutions to reduce the carbon footprint, things like automated, autonomous electric vehicles, sustainable parking. That's one way, using dual fuel system vehicle to transport our goods in a sustainable manner. I submit, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Dube. Let's move to Mr. Henon, who is from the EU, and let's see his experience working from Zimbabwe.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Clement Henon. Like you've heard, I'm from the European Union, specifically France. Rumi, thank you for the introduction earlier. But the company is fully Zimbabwean, but run by European. And then, but the company has been here for 10 years. I shared a presentation. I don't know if it's going to come on the screen here. No? No? Okay, I can do without. It's okay. So I just wanted to come here and share my experience as a person. I grew up in the EU, and I invested this time and money into Zimbabwe. So the company that I opened 10 years ago is a logistic company. We've started our operations in. Sorry? Oh, it's here. So I don't want to bore you with the whole presentation and everything. Can we go straight to the part where you've got the maps, so you can see where we developed all the way from Zimbabwe to elsewhere. Yeah, you can go further onto the maps. Yeah, here. No, the one further. That's good, you can stop here. So if I summarize what we do, we transport anything from anywhere to anywhere. And then the company started in Harare 10 years ago and developed into those countries. So we are now in Zambia. We've got offices as well in Mozambique. We newly opened in Tanzania, and we are also in the process to open another country. So it is, again, a perspective when you start activity in Zimbabwe, do not be limited by what you hear around. I know we tend to focus on what's negative. Zimbabwe's got issues, electricity supply, access to long-term loans, some aging infrastructures, the cost of exporting our fresh produce. You were talking about the fresh produce earlier. It's more expensive than some other countries. But I believe that all those challenges brings opportunities. And we'll come to that. So I arrived in the country 13 years ago. And I never left since then. But I'll come to the why shortly. I'd really like to, for European companies when they come here, to engage all the entities that have been introduced to, including ZIDA, but also the private sectors. And then again, I'll share my details at the end. See, some of you wants to hear about my experience and know the difficulties and get to know how to quicken the process. Feel free to contact me. I don't charge for that. The why now. So like the Zimbabwe, besides the obvious reasons, it's got fantastic climate, you've got the central position. I can reach all those countries in a direct flight. I can go to Cape Town directly. I can go to Durban. I can go to Dar es Salaam, Lusaka, and Mozambique. The people. The competencies of the Zimbabwean workforce is very valuable. All our back office is managed from Zimbabwe. So all the countries that you see, our admin, our finance, our IT is managed from here. And then those offices are in charge of sales only. And then I could not find the quality of people that I have in Zimbabwe in the countries around. And then one of the points, can you go to the next slide? The one after? After? Until you see perishable. Next one. Yeah. We've recently launched a new division, which is a perishable exports. And we've seen, for example, a difficulty that some farmers have in Zimbabwe is to have expensive logistic to reach Europe and Far East. And we saw, again, from a challenge, an opportunity. So we started to get into the business and then reduce the cost. Our aim was to reduce the cost of the logistics. So we came after 6 months in the game on some of the projects like citrus to reduce the cost by $20 to $25 per ton, which is, when you're exporting thousands tons, it makes a big difference at the end of the day. And we'll continue doing so and trying to offer innovative solutions. So I engage everyone, and then from my own little experience, to approach the region from Zimbabwe. Again, Zimbabwe's got lots to offer. Yeah, we've got a unique position, and then I engage people to talk and make sure that they get the right understanding of the country. There's also one of the issues that I mentioned is the infrastructure, some aging infrastructures. We have roads, for example, going to Zambia, which is full of potholes, and the Bridge Road as well coming up, which for transporters is hard because it's heavy on our trucks and it delays the deliveries. A friend of mine, which is there, sitting over there, Shedza, she mentioned a company that is called Carbon Crusher, and they're recycling roads. They're building roads that are carbon negative. I read and I went online and I could not believe this opportunity. And it's not more expensive than proper roads. And you can generate carbon credit, so you can leverage those roads and make money out of it, which is incredible. So some of those are the ideas that we can put in place in Zimbabwe, in order to improve our infrastructures. There's many other points, but I think I'll reach to my end. But and then setting up here is relatively easy. I say relatively. I know that it can seem complex, but it's not that complex. If you really want to open a setup, have a company here, there is people to help. We had Zida earlier. They're always available. I know that sometimes with the communication between immigration, the Zida investment, and so on and so forth, seems a bit strenuous, but it is working. And then again, at the end, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate. If you can share the last, if you want my contact details, they're here, and then we can discuss later outside of this forum. Thank you so much.
Thank you. On a lighter note, he said they transport anything to anywhere. Maybe later on you might want to nuance it a bit. Huh? There are some things which are not supposed to be transported. Next, let's hear from AGS. We have two representatives from AGS, international and local, isn't it? Let's start with the international.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Jan Jondo. So I think it's healthy to clear the air about the AGS number 1, AGS number 2. There are two AGS in Zimbabwe. Actually, 60% of my phone call are from my friend here. So it's difficult. It was one of my priority when I arrived in Zimbabwe was brand acknowledgement. People mistake the both AGS. We are a bit in the same business of logistics, but we are not the same. AGS, may I say number 1 or number 2? Oh, okay. Okay. AGS number 2 is a French company. It's a family business actually. We are everywhere over Africa, Europe, and Asia. We are a bit specific compared to my colleagues, is that we are dealing in something nobody wants. We are dealing in personal effects. We are transporting personal effects, meaning basically the furniture of your house. So when you are expatriate or when you are sent to work in Australia or USA or Europe and you want to take your bed with you, we are here to help you. It's a very specific and complicated business because we are dealing with personal effects. So the business becomes very quickly personal. We're not dealing with everything else like my colleague Clement. So that is business number 1. Business number 2, we do hospitality business. We are involved in very heavy duty project in Harare. Right now you have the beautiful Onomo building, which is being built on Chitepo, which is the Afreximbank head office. So we are part of the project. We are also part of the project of a huge temple from a church from America, which is being built. So we are here to assist them logistically. We are importing their furniture, all their goods. We store them and we install them. That is a very interesting business. Then our third activity, which I affectionate particularly because it's a B2B business, it's records management, where we take care of the records of corporate companies or big companies. Records can be a real challenge for administration. When Zimra is coming to your place for an audit, you really panic because you don't know where are invoice ABC. So we help you in that direction. I was introduced as a foreign company. We are here for 30 years. Myself, I'm here for 10 years now. So we are getting there. We are still foreigner, but we are getting there. I'm not so fan as Clement about the weather here. I find it a bit cold. But the big asset of Zimbabwe, I believe, is really you people. I mean, I have worked in many African countries. The human resources of Zimbabwe is just amazing. I've never seen such a level of, yeah, thank you. I've never seen such a level of professionalism, of education, and mainly of resilience. So you are definitely part of our success, and that is very important to mention it. I think I have done the point. No, I will leave AGS too. Okay, thank you.
A bit of, as IDBZ, we also keep our records with AGS. For a development finance institution, it is very, very important that you keep your records over long periods. You can have a situation where some tender process is requested for 15, 20, 30 years later. And also when I was still with the African Development Bank, we also worked with them as we were moving stuff across Africa. So they are well-established international company, and we are very happy that you have been in Zimbabwe for 30 years. Je m'excuse. Okay, next let's have the aviation services, the local one.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I would want to thank the organizers of this event for bringing us together and share ideas. My name is Togara Mushonga. I'm the Managing Director for Aviation Ground Services. Our purpose in this country, we are present in all the international airports in Zimbabwe, RGMI, Bulawayo, Victoria Falls. So we are the link between importers, exporters, and the airlines. So all the cargo that goes through the airports, we handle that. So we work closely with freight forwarders, the likes of SFAAZ, Interlog. We work with FX Logistics and many other shippers. So in Zimbabwe, about 30% of our cargo comes through air. And of the 30% that comes through air, we handle about 70% of that. So in terms of perishables, Mr. Dube had mentioned that we used to have a big airline from the Netherlands by the name KLM or Martin Air. So Martin Air pulled out of Zimbabwe this end of March this year. KLM, by this time around, it would have been picking up about 150 tons of perishables per week to Amsterdam. So right now, there's a gap that has been created. Our farmers are facing a lot of difficulties. Now they are opting to take some of their shipments through road to South Africa, but still is then uplifted by air to the European countries and other countries, which is an opportunity that's there. We are in discussions with several airlines to fill in the gap, but there is a challenge that the farmers through HDC, they also need to be convinced, because we are talking about perishables. So in terms of perishables, they need assurance that the perishables won't go bad. But the option of going by road to South Africa, already it affects the shelf life of the product. It affects the quality of the product as well. So with the government initiative, the Open Skies policy, we have the capacity to handle all the sizes of aircrafts. In Airbus A380, we can handle it. We have all the equipment that's needed. We have the facilities to handle the perishables. So working together with other freight forwarders, the likes of FX, they do consolidation for the farmers. They've got a lot of cold room facilities. We at AGS will also have cold room facilities. Over 100 tons of perishables can be handled at any time. But that creates also an issue of power usage. You understand that our electricity at the moment is a bit on the higher side in terms of cost. So there's also an opportunity for those who are into solar. We can make use of solar energy to power our facilities, our cold rooms. So as AGS, we are looking into that, into partners to do solar projects so that our facilities are powered by solar systems. Thanks to the European Union, with their efforts in trying to reduce the costs to the farmers. There are efforts that are being taken to try and reduce the cost of screening. Screening, you know, all the shipments that go through air undergoes a lot of screening processes. EU is assisting through HDC to try and put up a big scanner which can be used to screen the perishables, but because of size, it minimizes the time spent, and also the cold chain is not affected that much. So we as AGS, we've got the expertise in screening, we've got qualified screeners, we've got the space, and we are working together with HDC and other stakeholders involved. So in terms of our engagement, as I said, we are engaging several airlines. A big airline, a B747, needs about 100 tons. It's a 100-ton capacity. So it means there is an opportunity for farmers. But I know some of the farmers, they are doing their farming. Like what Mr. Dube said, some products are actually going bad without having the opportunity to export them. In terms of exports, we export over 8 million kgs a year, mainly to the European countries. So 8 million kgs, if HDC is around, I think they were telling us that because of the good season that we had this year, there's actually growth in terms of the agricultural or horticultural produce that came out this year. It means if other farmers are to be consolidated, there is an opportunity to increase the exports from the 8 million to a bigger number. That, if is done, it means we will be able, airlines are there. There are two main reasons why we can't have a bigger airline to replace KLM at the moment. Number one is to do with the air freight charges. So farmers, because of other costs that are linked to the farming processes, they are very sensitive to costs. So they won't allow, or like for the example of KLM, they were not agreeing to KLM increasing their charges. But KLM was being offered a better rate in Kenya. They had also some other markets which were giving them better rates. So that's how KLM pulled out. Secondly, the issue of capacity. As I said before, right now, we have, as farmers, there are a lot of products, but farmers are preferring to take their goods through road to South Africa. But if we have the assurance that from the farmers, they are able to bring in 100 tons at once, it means we are able to bring in a freighter, a 747, to pick up the 100 tons and take them to Europe. So it's an opportunity that's there. but obviously it will need to come in with a lot of negotiations in terms of air freight rates, and also for an airline to be profitable, there's need for the inbound cargo. That's where the likes of Mr. Dube should come in, and our AGS2 brother should come in and make sure a lot of inbound cargo also comes in. So in terms of inbound cargo, we are also capable of handling that. In a year, through air, we handle over 6 million kgs of imports. So there's an opportunity. So from the investors, from the European Union, from AGS side, we import a lot of ground service equipment, the equipment, that special equipment that you see at the airports, or that is imported from the European countries mostly. So it's an opportunity. I know there are many companies about renewable energy. We are talking about solar projects to power the cold chain system. It's also an opportunity. And definitely, because there's a lot of monies involved, funding also is very important. So in as far as we will need modern equipment, we will need to expand the cold chain facilities. We also need the funding so that the business stays afloat. I think my time is up. The facilitator is pointing at that, but in brief, that's what I can say for now. Thank you.
Thank you. In a lot of these kinds of organizations or meetings, you hear people talk about the smart people in Zimbabwe. You also hear about how nice our climate is. And you also hear about our geography, location, how good it is. Let's hear a regional perspective, whether we are really taking advantage of this very nice geographical location, or it's actually a bottleneck to regional integration. Mr. Mungai.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Rondo. Let me make a confession. I'm not a businessman. I used to be an old bureaucrat. Now I'm retired. So I sit under a tree talking to all sorts of people, many young people, and I'm interested in issues of policy issues. I talk to a few government people, talk innovation. I spend all that time with the young people, and I'm interested in knowledge management. So today I hope it's an intersection of at least those three things I'll share with you in the context of the region. Now, the first speaker showed you a map. And that map showed you some very critical corridors. The main corridor is the south-north-south corridor. Comes from Durban, goes all the way to Dar es Salaam. That is the main corridor. Then there's another main corridor that goes the Beira corridor, which goes from Beira to Harare and joins the North Corridor. The other one is the Maputo corridor, which cuts across South Africa, goes to Walvis Bay. Those are the main arteries for moving goods, services, and people in the region. Now, SADC adopted those corridors, and they have protocols for them, which defines the need to develop these corridors. And a man called Fambaoga, is he around? Yeah, that man has spent all his time working on corridors. He is the one who presented on our behalf last year. Now, last year, SADC was having its inauguration of the president of SADC for 1 year. And we were invited to join the SADC Industrial Week. And when we spoke to CZI, we spoke to ZIDA, we said, well, Sounds like this industrial week, there's a lot of discussions. Are there bankable projects? It became clear from our discussions that clearly there's a missing link in the bankable projects. So the SADC corridors have anchor projects, which are the railways, the roads, the border post that gets built. And there's one thing that is always missing in that discussion: the telecommunications and power lines. And yet, without power, Europe will still be in darkness. America will still be in darkness. You fly over Africa, most of us at night, Africa looks like in total darkness. Power. So that I would like to leave on the table, that investment in power corridor, investment in power anchor projects, which is the drivers of this SADC economic corridors that they call them, is key to it. Telecommunication is important, and for Zimbabwe it's particularly so because some of the highest literacies in Africa. I talk to these guys every week. There's some really smart guys with ideas here, but they can never get those ideas to the market. They can't turn them into businesses. They can't turn them into bankable projects. But the business people have similar problems. You go to most meetings, we have good ideas. We have project concepts. And at the risk of being told off by my brother here, he once told us, and I quote him, he said, only in Zimbabwe do people think I have a project and an idea and that consists of a project. I told him, no, it's a problem. It's an Africa-wide problem. In Africa, we seem to think that you have a good idea, you have a project, you don't. And when I was a bureaucrat, one of the few things I used to tell the people I used to work with is that a good idea is the first step. If you want to have investment, you need a good project proposal, document. But a good project document doesn't give you a project, doesn't guarantee you a project, but a bad idea ensures you don't get funding. So it's your choice. Do you want a good project and take your chance, and at least you then have a chance in the roulette of, because it's a roulette. It's how many people, how much is available. There are more people looking for investment than there are people giving investments. So a roulette means you have a good project, you have a chance. You have a bad project, sorry. So we then went to SADC, and we discussed, and I asked the CZI, ZIDA, Minister of Industry, Minister of Foreign Affairs, whether you could have one day of SADC investment forum day. And the idea is that people with projects meet people with money. I say nothing because I think I wasn't around when Boga did the talking. But the message I got, that wasn't the case. So the question is, what is going on? Why is a country that's the intersection of the main corridors, smart people, good ideas, good climate, why are we not getting the investment? And you hear everyone has a different reason. Oh, political will, there is a climate and doing business climate. And I look at it and I say, well, I have worked in most African countries. I have seen a lot worse. And they have plenty of investments. So the question is, what is missing? So we put the argument to government that what we need is to turn these anchor projects, the railway lines, the roads, the border posts, the ports, into businesses, systems that allow people to go into business and develop the region. And for that, you need a couple of things. One, we need to repair our roads. They are damaged. Without them, transport costs go up. Our railways, they ran down. We need to replace the tracks. There's a lot of resources, money to be made by those who wish to replace the tracks. The border post, we need them to facilitate the trade. But most importantly, with the digital platforms, with the digital solutions, the biggest commodity moving around the world these days is information. So without it, whether you are trying to get efficiency in a border post, you are trying to actually get efficiency at a port, you will be losing money as a business person. That's me, the bureaucrat, saying. So these corridors, in terms of the way the SADC has constructed them, Zimbabwe relies on all of them. Because you are the center, you are the connecting point. You are located at the center of the region. So all the 4 corridors come through you. 70% of your exports rely on these corridors. 70%. Not an airline. I know airlines are very important. Value may be it's important, but 70% of your Zimbabwe's exports rely on it. And these corridors, when they work, they can reduce your cost between 30 and 40%. So if you can get these corridors to work, first of all, your cost of transportation goes down. And since 70% of your goods go through it, you have a more productive economy. But the SADC Spatial Development Initiative, which is the protocol that governs these corridors, says the building of these railways is the responsibility of each country effectively. Very difficult. The regional project, talk to the World Bank, talk to ADB, talk to EU. Regional projects are very difficult to implement. So what we have proposed to government and to the SADC Secretariat is that focus on feeder investment projects. The corridor from Harare to Beira needs people along that corridor to invest in those corridors. Foreigners and Zimbabweans and the regional people. Because if you can invest in the corridors in between Harare and Beira, the person who is doing an investment assessment of bankability will see those investments as off-takers that make that corridor profitable. There will they come. But more importantly, you create jobs. You create rural jobs, because without rural jobs, the corridors basically die. If there's nothing happening in the corridors die from underutilization. So we require to get these investments, feeder investment projects, every country. Mozambique does it along the corridor. Zimbabwe does it along the corridor. Botswana does it along the corridor. Namibia does it on the corridor. The corridor is now functional. It means that corridor is profitable. Any investor who wants to come invest in Zimbabwe along this corridor, whether you are within 100, 200 kilometers either side, you will see it makes investment sense because I have more to carry. Whether you're a railway, whether you're a manufacturer, whether you are, whatever you do, it makes those corridors bankable and profitable to the investors. 2, we require the local authorities along these corridors, the sub-national governments in Mozambique, in Zimbabwe, in Zambia, to be able to prepare the kind of local economic development plans that attract investors. Not all of us are going to invest in Harare. We're all business people. Before you come to invest in Zimbabwe, you will end up yourself with high costs and all sorts of other problems, traffic, etc., etc. If you go and invest in Rusape, you are closer to the border, the railway works, if it works, the road works, and the local authority can make investment in their local authority attractive by working with ZIDA and working with the Ministry of Industry and working with the people who promote investments. Thirdly, we need to harmonize the regulations. You cannot invest in a corridor. If in Mozambique you need certain you meet certain regulations. You come to Zimbabwe, you meet different regulations. You go to Namibia, Zambia, different regulations. Which investor has time to go around negotiating different guidelines, regulations to invest in a corridor? And most of our economies are too small. We have the economies of scale requires that these corridors work. Because then I can say, I am moving goods between the corridors, and as an investor, I know I agree with one country, all of them back it up. So one of the discussions you're having with ZIDA is to see whether we can agree to have harmonized regional integration regulations that cover these corridors. The final point, my time is up. 1 more minute. 2 minutes, oh, okay. 2 minutes is plenty of time. Is that these corridors, why do you care about the corridors? We care about the corridor because they shift the discussion from building to functioning. It's no longer just I build a railway line. So what you build a railway line? If you don't move anything on it, grass will grow on it. So what if you build a road and put it tar? No vehicles, the cows will come and sleep on it in the night. It's nice and warm. And we have seen it in Africa. I've seen cows on roads, in tarred roads in Africa, because the road is a warm place that during the day is hot and the cow sleeps on it at night. That's not a joke, it's serious. So if the road and the corridor and the rail are not being used, it's wasted investment. To make it usable, we need to make these investments that are feeder investment projects by the citizens, driving rural infrastructure, industrialization, make sure they produce, they process, they get the machine in, I need the railway. I get the machine, the product out, I need the railway. So at least now we are using the corridors, but you're also creating wealth and you're growing the economy. Now these corridors, if you're going to do that, we then require to talk the last point I want to talk about. It is what we call, I think we called it corridor performance. And this is where the business people come in. The people who talked before me. Corridor performance is about the ability of a corridor to move people, to move goods, and where was I, my notes? Old age catches up. It is to link people to markets, to create jobs in rural areas, to reduce trade costs and transit time, and attract inclusive private investment. Inclusive is the key. We cannot sit in Africa saying, foreigner, come invest. Where are our investors? But I can't say, come and let's co-invest. You put $10, and I'll put $10. Then you have a joint investment. We both have a reason to actually make sure this thing works. So this performance, and this is what the business people are complaining about, is that we need to make sure that the corridor is efficient, has efficiency, it's reliable, it's competitive, and is measuring it, you need to know whether, how much time am I losing going there? How much am I losing sitting at the border? How much am I losing sitting at the port? How much are you losing by my trucks and rail tractors sitting at the railway waiting to be offloaded because the logistics don't work? This is what the business people are saying. Those are also sources of investments. We need to figure a way of how we make this, the border clearance times, the cargo dwell time, how long it sits around, the transit time is going to take to move from Mutare to Beira. If the road is terrible, I'm going to take 2 weeks. And the truck turnaround or rail turnaround, so I can actually put my asset to more use. So if you remember nothing else from this discussion, is that a corridor is only as strong as its weakest feeder. You can have the best corridor, the most expensive rail line. If there are no feeder investments, it will die. And therefore, in SADC, we are talking about local investors, local authority investors, city investors, national investors, regional investors, and global investors investing on the piece of land these corridors go through. So we can move goods in and goods out, we can create jobs, we can create wealth, and the SADC can say we have a successful economic integration. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So now let's hear from the audience what you have picked, and of course, what are some of the things that you would like to get clarification on. He is right. We always spend a lot of time quarreling with some colleagues. They will come and say, I have a very good idea, and they then immediately imply that they have a good project. It doesn't work that way. There are also projects which are self-evident, but it doesn't mean it is going to happen. At the moment in Zimbabwe, we are working on this Manize steel. For that plant to really work, the amount of energy, additional energy we need. And also, how are you going to transport the steel? So there is already need to be looking seriously. We should have done that already. Is it going to go through Beira? Is it going to go through Maputo? How does it come to the major markets in the country? To Harare, to Bulawayo, and things like that. So those are self-evident projects, but it doesn't mean they are going to happen, or they are going to happen in a timely manner. But we will continue to talk with young ones. As he said, we are very old, which is true. But the idea of bankability of projects, it's something also an idea that a lot of us here in Zimbabwe need to embrace, to accept. I was sitting at the back there earlier on, and there is an engineer, I think he's still here. He did mention that he has some projects. And then there was also a lady who was sitting at the back there who said we need to meet more often and exchange ideas, experiences. And yes, we should do that, but also do it in a manner that is very coordinated, organized, and that leads to real outcomes. So, from the audience, the gentleman here.
Thank you. We are transporters. I compliment my friend Washington and my other friends. They do the documentation and we do the traveling. That chain cannot exist if transport or road freight is not in place. So with the absence of rail, it is important that road has taken over completely in the transportation of cargo, whether perishable cargo or break bulk cargo, containerized cargo, in the corridors that he is talking about with the masters of that plan. And we invest in this kind of trucks. The most important thing for the European Union to take away is that Zimbabwe has the most experienced drivers, truck drivers. They all are literate, they can write, they can read, they can explain documents right across the region. And it is important that we need to recognize this human capital. South Africa is dominated by Zimbabwean drivers. That's why there is xenophobia all the time, trying to get rid of our drivers. Because South African drivers cannot drive all the way to the DRC Congo. And it is important. And also be able to contend with the disorganization in the DRC, where a toll gate is just 2 pieces of branches on the road, and somebody gets there to collect the money. Sorry, let me consult my notes.
Okay, I think while you're consulting your notes, maybe I can give the opportunity to His Excellency.
And yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I also wanted to say that our drivers are not only employed in South Africa, they are also going across to Europe. My cousin is in Poland right now as a truck driver. So that experience is huge. And they are driving right across the European Union. Germany, Poland, and the other countries. We buy most of our trucks, I say most of our trucks, from the UK. And this is common knowledge. I don't have the statistics of how many trucks come from that country, but this is from Europe. We also have our trucks have GIT, which is goods in transit. Your goods are safe with us. As an association, we enforce these regulations. GIT, customers' goods, need to be protected in the event of accidents or theft or such problems. I indicated that we carry cargo in break bulk trucks, 30 tonners, 34 tonners. the super links that you see on the roads and they disturb you when you try to overtake. This association has massive capacity to be able to transport goods around the region. The opportunities for you again lie for the EU particularly, because individually we buy the trucks we get from the UK for cash. There is no credit. We buy them for cash, 30,000, 40,000. It takes some brains for somebody to net this association and talk to us. And they create facility through a local bank. And all these indigenous transporters are grouped together, and we can be able to buy capacity and the newer trucks that can be able to ply the corridors, as the gentleman says. Therefore, trucks, trailers, spares, and tires, those are key, and you can be able to support us using local banks.
Okay.
I would suggest, I'm
give-
concluding already.
Okay.
I would suggest that we have a Zim borders concept for other borders as well. I thought my friend there would indicate that, because the DRC, to a great extent, is our biggest pain when crossing that border. Thank you very much.
Yeah. The next speaker is the ambassador, but before he comes, you know, ambassadors are good at making sure there's good relationship across countries. I think we should also be careful how we refer to other countries. I know your comments about the DRC,
Sorry?
you know, it's
Okay.
always important. For some of us who have worked across Africa, there is something to value in each and every country, and we should respect each other.
Right. So let me start with just replying to what the EU should take away. And the colleague might not like what I'm saying. I personally would rather like that the Zimbabwean drivers drive in Zimbabwe, not in Europe or in Poland or in South Africa. And the question is, why are they not driving in Zimbabwe? So Zimbabwe is a landlocked country. And Zimbabwe, like Mungai, right? Yeah. Mungai was saying, has to rely on connectivity, because there is no port of Durban and something else. Zimbabwe is a landlocked country. Currently, everybody is looking into corridors. We are looking into the corridor, and I was saying it, from Durban to DRC, block train for minerals, etc. So, are we going through Zimbabwe? Perhaps, but there are other roads through Botswana. And so the clock is ticking. And as we have heard in the previous session, there is currently not much room for investment as long as railways are, for example, not privatized because of the arrears, and nobody can really give money. There was somebody in the room as well saying, I have potential investors, but they all ask that the railway is private. So as there is not currently a solution, there's a risk that Zimbabwe might just ending up being surrounded by corridors, but no corridor going through Zimbabwe. And what surprises me personally is, and that's a question to all of you in a way, is in this arrears clearance process where we talk about unlocking the potential for investment, I have not seen the private sector saying anything. I hear the private sector here saying, not enough infrastructure, not enough road, not enough capital, but I have not seen the private sector being outspoken and say, we need that. Maybe that's also an appeal to the private sector in this room and to those who represent the private sector to be much more outspoken, because we as European Union, we could say, okay, this is a process which is driven by a sovereign country. If they are not moving forward, if there is not a corridor, we still will be able to go to Durban, but through another road. So what's the plan? Why are there no airline connections? Why, if I have on Friday to go to Ivory Coast, I have to go to Addis and to somewhere else, and I forgot, and then to Abidjan. Why is there no flight to Europe? The only flight which was there, the KLM flight, is cancelled. Why did that happen? So I think it's very important, because if you want to export fresh produce and you don't have a connection, then you go through other countries, becomes complicated, as it was said. So how do you see that? It's a bit for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Yes.
Thank you very much. I will be now very brief. I was just thinking about if any visa adjustment of the process could change the airline companies' interest in creating more ways between Africa and Europe, because maybe then, if for the local people it would be easier and less bureaucratic to go to visit Europe, maybe it could be then like more demand on the market. So it's just a question if there is any maybe plan in the future to consider something like that, but maybe it's not the right place where to ask.
Okay, thank you.
That will be the last question for us. We have to really wrap up by 5
lady
o'clock.
over there. Over there.
Strictly the last one, okay?
Thank you. Just a quick one. My name is Joyce Machiri. I'm with the Zimbabwe Environmental Law Association. So we have a research that we have done from mine to market on lithium processing as well as export. So one opportunity that we saw from this research is Zimbabwe also being integrated into the Lobito corridor. So I wanted to find if there are any opportunities or ways that Zimbabwe can also be part of the Lobito corridor. Thank you.
Who should answer? You want to try? Okay, please. That's the last question. Is apparently we have run. Okay, there is a youth here. Yeah, you took our time. The previous session.
You're lucky you've been accepted by Ambassador Jobst, so, okay.
The previous session overshot by a good 10 or so minutes.
Hello, my name is Samuel Mangwanda. I'm a young farmer. I noticed Mr. Sakala and the bureaucrat, Mr. Mungai, were talking about how they are very interested in, is it on? Right. How they are very interested in the youth and teaching us about innovation. I understand very well that just because you have an idea and you're fiery about that idea, it doesn't necessarily make it bankable or practical. I understand that very well. But they stand over here, I see in front of me someone who has done what people call the impossible, Mr. Chanakira. So I would like to ask, just as a parting shot, may you please just talk to the youth in this room. I know there are a number of youth in here hiding. May you please just talk to the youth about a lot of mistakes that a lot of young people make, especially when they're starting up, and a lot of mistakes and how to avoid them, and what they should do when they're talking to investors, like if they're in a room like this full of investors, how do they go about it the best way in order for them to make the best possible moves forward? Thank you very much.
Okay, that will be subject to another forum. I won't give, you want to answer? I'm under pressure to stop. The what?
I wanted to answer the Lobito question.
Lobito?
Yes, which was asked by the lady. If
Okay,
Zimbabwe is part of...
half a minute, please.
Okay, half a minute. Zimbabwe is not part of the Lobito corridor, but there is a big possibility that we can actually join. The point which I highlighted, that when we finish off our rail, which stopped in Lions Den, we can actually connect to the Lobito corridor via Livingstone in Victoria Falls, or via Lusaka by rail if we finish off that rail, I submit.
Okay. As he mentioned, you have SADC corridors and the Pan-African corridors. Thank you very much.
A round of applause to the panel, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we had the CEO of the Shipping and Forwarding Agents Association of Zimbabwe, Mr. Washington Dube. Thank you so much. We had from Logistics and Transport Expert, Mr. Mungai Lenneiye of the Udugu Institute, bringing in a regional lens and also sustainable integrated transport networks here. And we also had the Aviation Ground Services, Mr. Togarepi Mushonga, the local. And then we also had AGS France Zimbabwe, Yan Yondu. And also many thanks to Mr. Clement Henon, or he calls, you say it Clement Henon. Thank you so much, the Managing Director of Interlog, Europe and Zimbabwe, and also the CEO of IDBZ, who was our moderator for this, Mr. Thomas Zondo Sakala. Mr. Sakala, thank you so much for driving us home. And we're getting into the closing session where Ambassador is going to be coming forward. Gentlemen, you're free to go to your seats. Ruveneko.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for that closing panel. It's never easy being last on the agenda, right? Because everyone is tired and the room is emptying out. Over to you, Your Excellency. I know that you have some words for us as we conclude today.
So it won't be long, don't worry. So, I mean, I was even thinking, should I do even concluding remarks? Because now the networking goes on and tomorrow we have field visits. But however, I must say I'm extremely positive surprised how this went. Over 700 demands for being part of this. We accepted 350 at the end, not 280. Over 60 European companies. I think that was fantastic. Now at the beginning I was talking about opportunities. I must say I probably partially knew them already, but I personally go back from here and I think there are even more opportunities than I thought there are. When I think about the renewable session, actually a lack of capital of 16 billion and 38% of electricity demand missing. I mean, in a country where the sun shines 300 days per year, I mean, there is an open door for renewable investment, I believe. Not talk about mining. Mining is, I think, probably by far the biggest contributor to GDP. We have talked a lot about it. Also an obvious one. And similar for horticulture, agriculture. Just thinking about what I saw on blueberries, this country would need to increase by 100% the production in order to only satisfy the European demand. What an opportunity of a value chain which is already working. So I think this is fantastic. Plus skilled labor. Plus, as I say, I mean, if you look up in the sky, it's always blue. If you look at the soil, it's fertile. You can put anything in, it grows. And if you dig, you find basically everything which is valuable. Any metal and anything. What a country. We also talked about challenges. Now, what I really liked is at the beginning I was saying, please, to all panelists, to all speakers, give an accurate picture. Don't oversell Zimbabwe. Don't scare people away. And I honestly think you achieved it. And I would like you to applaud to all those who were sitting in panels and speaking here. Because I think we honestly touched about everything and there was no taboo on anything. And that is so important, whether it's the currency issue, the capital issue, the exchange rate, this and that. Everything was talked about. And why is that so important? Because the private sector, and you will agree with me, is not hesitant to put money if there are risks and challenges. But the private sector and companies will not invest if they don't know the risks and challenges. So predictability is absolutely key. And I believe that forum has certainly contributed to create more trust and more predictability for companies. So some might go back and might say, okay, great opportunity. There are challenges, but I know them now, and maybe I can even know them better in the future, but it's worthwhile putting my money there. Now, what about the follow-up? So first of all, the B2B platform, the spontaneous, the speed dating, as we called it, and spontaneous meetings have led to 1,600 meetings in these 2 days. Imagine that. That's enormous. This platform remains open, so it will also serve in the future to do a matchmaking. Secondly, CEDA and also the European Union has committed itself to follow up. And then, thirdly, we have concrete offers. We have concrete offers actually in all 3 areas, and I would just like to mention one. I'm not allowed to say the name, but there's a firm offer of 7 million for an investment which was pitched. And I think that's fantastic. That's what we wanted to get. So thanks a lot. I hope this has given appetite for more, in particular for the European companies as well. And it has also sent a signal to the world that Zimbabwe is open for business. And here businesses were coming, and maybe some of them are investing. And I think this is something which they will tell others, and I hope there will be more investment in the future. Thanks a lot, and have a nice evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Please may we give him another round of applause for the first ever Zim EU Business Forum and the success of it. I know that there's so many people behind you, that work with you, and they've all been floating around and working